Good afternoon, everybody. Jody Brozick of Winter Warriors Live here with head coach Dan Aaker of your Winter Warriors. Dan, we're almost to the playoffs, but before we get to tonight's game, let's take a look at that Week 8 game against Woonsocket, Wessington Springs, Sanborn Central. Really had a playoff atmosphere at Wessington Springs.
It was a fun game, and we started the game the way we wanted. Our first two drives just really moved it, and it forced them to get out of their 3-4, which we spent a lot of time on blocking against that 3-4 during the week, and we were executing really well. They kind of jumped into a 4-4, which we've seen a lot. It just seemed like we took a little time to adjust to that, but I don't know. I look at it, what happened in two major things that we didn't do a very good job at. One, we've been talking about getting turnovers the entire year. We forced three, and then literally sometimes you get turnovers because they drop them. The other one was a drop snap, but we ripped the ball from Whitty one time. Shea had an unbelievable interception. All three turnovers at midfield, and we don't get a single point from them. And in two of those, we went 3 and out after really moving the ball, and that really hurt us in the first half. We got to capitalize in those situations, and good teams do that. They just you make a mistake. And so finally, the good news is we finally got some turnovers, but we didn't capitalize it. And then the second half, we were able to keep them on the end zone for the most part, but we didn't stop them. And that really hurt us because they were able to drive to our 40 inside our position and pin us deep. We only had 2 possessions until 41 seconds to go in the game, so it tells you how fast the game was going. We started the first one at the 5-yard line, the second one at 10, and it doesn't take a rocket science to understand how hard it is against any team, let alone a good team, to go 95 yards or 90. But with that being said, we still moved the ball out to our 40. We were moving the ball, but then we'd have a critical penalty that put us in bad down and distance. So looking back, I think those are the 2 things that really could have given us a lot better chance to even maybe have the game in hand. If we capitalize on 1 or 2 of those turnovers first half, it's a completely different ball game. And then just inability to just make a stop on third down. They were, I think, 14 of 16 on third down conversions. And that's a lot of credit to Whitty. He just doesn't get pushed backwards. He just gets the extra yard, and they're good up front. But exciting football game. We got a little lost on coverage, but that starts with letting Kingsbury out of the pocket, which we've struggled all year, letting quarterbacks get out of the pocket. I think I probably mentioned in the pregame, he's a lot better rolling out, moving, throwing the ball than he is if we keep him in the pocket. So you always look at things you could have done better, but that being said, I don't think we played a bad game. And I think our guys actually probably came out of that game even hurting and a little upset about the loss, but still very confident. So the only thing that really affected us was where we landed up in as far as playoffs and power points. But I think the fans got their money's worth, and it was a fun environment to be part of.
Dan, you've been a part of some really, really big games over the years. You can think of the 2 Tri-Valley State Championship games. In the first one, you make a huge call to force that Hail Mary pass. You make an interesting call at the end of the Woonsocket, Wessington Springs, Sanborn Central game. What did you see to make you go run versus pass with 2 seconds to go?
Well, one, we were probably pretty darn fortunate to get there. We threw a single route with Riley and told Carter just to throw it to him. And he hits him back shoulder and 3 defenders. Riley makes a great catch, gets out of bounds. Play before that, the screen was there, and credit, I'm not sure which lineman from Weston Springs made the play, but he literally made a shoestring fingernail tackle on Nate Smither, just enough to trip him up. Otherwise, he waltzes in the end zone. You watch that film, and we had a block great. But when we were in the trips to the formation of the 2 previous times, I liked what we saw and the angles we would have on some sort of outside sweep with Phillip. The only thing that I regret and wish I had back, which I don't, was I ate a timeout. And they adjusted on that play and just forgot that I had another timeout, and that if I would have called another timeout, we may have went with something else, or at least try to get them jump off sides, burn the timeout, and hopefully get that. But I thought we had good angles, and Whitty actually slid in farther than we thought he would. Strong safety didn't have that good a look to get a block on him, and Philip had to cut it up early. Philip made a heck of an effort to try to get in there, but those are the ones you roll the dice. You're a genius if they score, and you're an idiot if you don't. But that's part of my job, and that doesn't bother me.
Added to the excitement of the game. I mean, 2 incredible drives in 40-some seconds.
Yeah. For us to go 41 seconds in that length is, was good to see, because we're not. we're not really built for that. And we had some guys make some plays. Carter's been throwing the ball really well lately, and that helps. So
Let's take a look at tonight's matchup. It's a rematch of Week 2, where we were coming off kind of a stinging loss. Also, you're going to be taking on a Stanley County team that's minus Gabriel, the very talented sophomore back, and maybe some other adjustments being made by Stanley County. What do you anticipate from the Buffaloes tonight?
Well, to answer that question, honestly, I'm not sure. They've been really Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is a team that beat MVP pretty handily. This is a team that beat Mobridge, who's a pretty good football team. But at the same time, a team that trailed Wagner late and ended up pulling out a win, and then Chamberlain got pretty good last week. So we really kind of told our guys, they're going to be as good as you probably allow them to be. So I think the start of this game is going to be really critical. We're going to have to do a good job. And if they let them hang around and they continue to play well, we can't get bought into what happened in the second week of the season, because we played pretty well. We played with a chip on our shoulder. And hopefully I think that's something we're expecting tonight too, coming off a loss. But they're a classic Stanley County team from the standpoint that they're very physical and they'll hit. They're going to spread you out. The big tight end is a big target. Quarterback is good. And just like I didn't say it against Western Springs and numerous other teams we've played, we got to do the best job we can to keep him in the pocket rather than getting out where he can throw on the run or take off and run. We're going to mix some stuff up differently coverage-wise. We'll see how it goes. We're going to probably be in a lot of man this week, tonight, just because I think it matches up to some of the things we're trying to do, and hopefully it allows us to get a little more pressure. But the biggest thing in Week 2 was the line of scrimmage. We really controlled line of scrimmage, both sides of the ball, and that's what it's won. And any time of the year, but the playoffs become that much more important. We have to win the battle up front, and for us to be successful both offensively and defensively. We were able to get outside of them quite a bit last time we played. I'm guessing there'll be some subtle adjustments for their defense to maybe try to stop that. And it's like in every week, teams are going to do certain things to stop one part of what we try to do. We've got to figure out what they're doing and then attack the things that they're going to give up. So that's the coaching end of it. But it's a nice first round match. I don't get caught up in figuring PowerPoints anymore. I used to, and now I've learned that it doesn't matter what scenario you think is going to happen; it never does. But my assistants had a Excel sheet and it all figured out, and we had it figured in that it was probably going to be 100% Lee Deadwood, and then the parents came. We didn't even see that. The parents came out on our bus ride home, and at Stanley County, that wasn't something we even thought could happen. So that was a little surprise, and that's why you don't get ahead of yourself, and that's why you don't start preparing for teams until you know exactly who you have, because you're just wasting time and energy and not thinking on the task at hand. So that's what we're doing here tonight. But we got to be ready to play. We got to understand it's playoffs. We tell our guys when you get to this stage, you just never know until you play that, unless you're in that final game, what's going to be your. That's how we break down every Thursday. Is our pregame practice is that we always tell them, make sure this is not your last, and that's what they need to understand. I think we're mentally ready. We had a lot of guys asking questions about things that they might do defensively, which tells me that they're thinking and sharp. So I expect a good performance tonight.
Of the 11B matchups that you did when they finally came out, what matchups intrigue you the most here in round 1?
Well, I think MVP and Western Springs Women's Soccer and Sanborn Central. I still think that Western Springs Sanborn Central is probably has the edge. They beat them earlier, but MVP's scary right now. You saw what they did to Chamberlain, and if Hastings gets going, they're going to be a tough out. So that one I think would be fairly interesting. You mentioned off camera that Canton, Sioux Falls Christian, maybe. Canton's a scary team, but Sioux Falls Christian just seems to be regrouped now after the Sioux Valley game, and then we're really, really playing well. So that one would surprise me. Other than that, I would go with the high seeds.
1 year ago today, Taylor Watzel passes on. Seniors, I understand there is a senior moment tonight where there's going to be a remembrance. How are they taking that this week?
I think they're taking it very well. I mean, these guys have been through a lot. Obviously, it brings back emotions, but I think they can use that to a positive thing. We talked Monday, this is something that we'd like to do, and they were definitely all in, and we're gonna Actually, with the W already there, the players and coaches and the Watson family will be out there and they'll form a T over top of the W for a TW and let some balloons go off. And you know, Taylor's always in our minds, and especially with those seniors because he was such a close friend and good teammate. So just a little more incentive, I think, to play with tonight.
Good luck tonight, Coach.
Thanks, Jody.